There we go. We're in.
We're in. We're in the Matrix, I suppose, right? Aren't you loosely associated with the Matrix GIF thing bot on Mastodon, Rob?
I am. I wrote the code for that.
Okay, I thought you did.
I didn't. I can't take any credit for the GIFs themselves, but yeah, I did write the code that posts those GIFs every whatever it is, 4 hours.
Where does one go to get like a big library of GIFs like that?
One uses a Python library that literally reads the movie, and it's essentially it's more than real time.
Oh, I was wondering. Is it using?
So this is running on.
Are we talking about AI here, Rob? Are we talking about? No.
No.
Okay.
It's a Python script. You feed it. I haven't done this, but Jason has.
Yeah.
You feed it the movie. You give it the subtitle.
Oh, sure.
File.
It's using the closed captioning, right? Probably.
Correct. And I believe most of these movies, even on Jason's, I think it's an M2 Max he's got, they were taking like nearly a day to do like one movie.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I was just wondering because I've seen so many of them. I follow both the Matrix one and the Office Space one. Those are my two favorites. And I having followed both for a while, I realized someone actually went through and cut up literally every single sentence in this movie, as far as I can tell. And that seemed like an awful lot of work if it was done manually. And obviously it wasn't.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. No. And as far as I know, Jason is still plugging away doing other movies.
Well
they're
done,
not
Jason.
going on. They're not going on Mastodon yet, but I know for a fact he sent me a couple as well, like Kung Fury. He did.
Oh, nice. We talked about that on this show many moons ago.
Yes, we did. The trouble with that movie is any line out of context seems wildly offensive or inappropriate.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. There are a few in Office Space that aren't great too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kung Fury, considering it's a 30-minute movie, there's a lot of things that if it's just one single sentence, you don't really want to be posting those publicly.
Oh, right. No, yeah, out of context, that stuff can be a little dicey for sure. Well, I've got a snack to bring to the show this week, Rob, because I haven't gone back to the video game store, although I do have a video game story for you. But I did go on a road trip. And I was driving to the Midwest with Jennifer. We got part way. We decided we were going to do it all in one shot, which is a very long trip. We were going to drive up to Michigan, and it's like 9.5 hours, maybe 10 with stops. And so we decided to leave the afternoon before and get just as far as we could. So we got up to southern Ohio, and we were kind of in the middle of nowhere. Sorry, people from southern Ohio. But we just went until we were kind of done driving for the day. And we were in a town that was actually a pretty good sized town called Athens, which is where Ohio University is. And we thought, all right, there's a school here. There's probably hotels that are okay. So we stopped and we found a hotel and we just walked in and said, hey, we'd like a room. And so they gave us a room. And we realized we were exhausted. We knew there was probably a nice downtown somewhere. We didn't know where it was. There just happened to be, though, an Applebee's right there in the parking lot of the hotel, literally sitting right in front of the hotel. And, I haven't been to an Applebee's in decades. Reminds me a little bit of thinking about the show The Office and the Bloomin' Onion. It's not the same place. That was a Chili's reference, but Applebee's is kind of one of these, I don't know. I don't even know what you'd call them. Sports bar, pub, but chain, more fast foody than anything else. And we sat down and we looked at the drinks. We were exhausted, and they didn't have very good drinks as far as I was concerned. None of the beers that I liked, but they did have something called a Dollarita. And a Dollarita, it turns out, is a margarita for just $1. And like, who wouldn't want a margarita for just $1? And of course, immediately thought, well, what could this possibly be? Is this going to be a shot glass size margarita? Is this going to have no alcohol in it? What is the deal going to be? Well, I wouldn't say it was a large margarita, but it was an okay size margarita. And it only cost $1, like they said. As far as I can tell, had virtually no alcohol in it. but that was okay. I needed to get up the next day and drive anyway. And they tasted okay. I mean, I think I was mostly drinking margarita mix on ice, but that and a sampler platter of appetizers. And I had $2 Dollaritas. Jennifer had one. That was only a $20 meal. It was cheaper than going to McDonald's.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, there's.
It was, and this was a big platter, right? This is the size of a large pizza, and it had quesadillas, and it had like a spinach artichoke dip, and it had, boy, I'm forgetting what it had. It had like boneless wings, buffalo wings, and it had cheese sticks, like mozzarella sticks, a bunch of different stuff, all in nachos and that kind of thing. And it was, I mean, the food was not good. The Dollarita had no booze in it, but it hit the spot when you've been driving for 5 hours or so.
Well, and as you say, if the options are that or like McDonald's, it's fine. I mean, it's still food.
Right.
You're
And
still
we
fed.
were very hungry, and it had been a long day, so we did stop. We sort of regretted it, I suppose. I mean, it was not like the kind of place you would want to spend a lot of time at, but yeah, that's what we did. And so I have a related video game story for you. It's related only in the sense that we talked about before the video game place near me that has a bunch of Japanese snacks. And this yesterday was, as we record this, was Memorial Day. And I went out, decided to take some time off, and I drove to a town near Charlotte called Gastonia, which is west of Charlotte. And there was a store there called Gamers Alley. And this place was it was one of those, it was in a strip mall. It was kind of hidden down on the end. It was clearly the low rent spot in the store. It had a big metal fence kind of like that could be locked from the inside at night so no one would break in. I thought, well, this place looks pretty sketchy. I went in, half the lights were burned out or turned off, but they had literally tens of thousands of used video games, just floor to ceiling, row after row, every single system you can imagine, like everything from Sega ever made, Jaguar and I don't know, Sega CD and all that stuff, all the Nintendo stuff, everything from Sony and Microsoft. And they had quite an inventory. It wasn't just junk, because I immediately found that they had a copy of Earthbound for $400. They had several, which I did go and look at online later, only to find that online I could purchase it for $530. So I suppose that's a good deal. And then I spent some time looking around. There's a lot of really, rare and hard to find games. But I was looking mainly at SNES and N64 and some of the Game Boy stuff. And they had, as far as I could tell, they had virtually everything in the catalog, it felt like, because it was just rows and rows and rows of stuff. What they didn't have a lot of, which is what I was really looking for, was hardware, because I have got it in my mind that I want to mod a Game Boy, either a Game Boy Color or perhaps a Game Boy Advance. So I'm thinking about this, and it's like all these hobbies. It's like, do I really want to dive into the deep end of this? Because, then I got to buy a soldering iron and some other tools, and it's more of an investment than just buying a used broken Game Boy and then getting some aftermarket parts and installing them. It's kind of a lot of work, it seems like. But it might be a fun project over the summer. I can turn my garage into a Game Boy modding studio.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah. So, if I get into this hobby, I'll bring you one.
Yeah, no, I'd love that. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, I would have to. The first thing I would do is I would subject all of my friends to a modded Game Boy. But I gotta first do it, and to bring you one, I would have to do it by July, and WWDC's coming up, so don't hold your breath, Rob, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I'll let you off.
But you'd be one of the first people that I would bring a modded Game Boy to. So there is that. The sentiment is there, even if
Absolutely.
even if the action may not actually ever get there. But we'll see.
While you were talking, I did find this Gamers Alley
Oh yeah,
And yeah, I'm just looking at the pictures. Like they have got a lot of stuff.
oh,
here.
it's a lot of games, and it's more than just games because it's like, of course, it's all the tchotchkes and all the pop culture stuff, as well as they had a whole space in the back for tabletop games, and it was a big cavernous space full of just all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, no, it's really impressive.
Yeah, they're two. I think that and the place that I've been closer to where I live are the two best places around here, from what I can gather, reading through Reddit posts where people are like comparing notes on used video game stores in North Carolina. It's got to be, it's got to be hard to sell used video games now that you can buy like some of these, these retro handhelds that just come with a micro SD card full of games on them. Not that I think that that's the right thing to do, but you can buy one of these retro handhelds for like $50 and it'll have like 2,000 games on it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I have my eye on one. Was it like the Mimi Plus or something?
The Miu Mini Plus. That I have one of those, right?
That's the one.
Yeah,
of course you do.
it's quite good. And Ambernick is coming out one that looks like the Game Boy SP. They just came out with it, so that's another one that looks kind of cool to me too. But yeah, the Miu Mini Plus is one of the better ones that are out there in terms of like the hardware, and yeah, it's a pretty cool little thing.
And it's really cheap as well. It's like if you get it from AliExpress, it's like $50.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's so cheap.
There's so much competition among these companies now. The thing with Miu is that not all of their handhelds are created equal. Some of them that they've made don't have very good buttons and things, but the Mini Plus is one of the better ones. I recommended this on Mac Stories Unwind last week, but Retro Game Core, that YouTube channel, is a great place to find more information about retro handhelds.
Yeah. I mean, it's just another thing that I really shouldn't be buying to have another hobby that I don't have time for. But
no, I know.
Here we go.
I know. But the idea of having, every game that you've ever played in your life in your pocket is kind of, I don't know, it's got that Steve Jobs 1,000 songs in your pocket type of thing to it,
That's it, yeah. I mean, speaking of things that we probably shouldn't spend money on, and hell has frozen over, I think.
Yes.
We're getting a Legend of Zelda Lego set.
Yeah, I was really surprised.
Which is amazing. I can't remember if we knew this, if they teased it or not. I genuinely can't remember at this point.
Don't think so. And I guess in a sense we shouldn't be surprised because there is precedent for Nintendo working with Lego in the past. Mm-hmm. But I also didn't really ever expect this to come. I really just want the minifigures, I think.
Me too.
I've tried very hard to stay away from that as a geeky hobby, which is, you can just like pour endless money at Lego, and it could be a very expensive hobby, especially if you get those fancy sets.
Yeah, tell me about it. I'm surrounded by it in my office.
Yeah,
right
no,
now.
I know that you have invested a lot in it, and I used to with my kids. And you know what? One of the things we did when we moved, one of the last things we did is Jennifer. What did she do? I forget how she listed this. She basically found a deserving young kid and his dad and said, here's like 30,000 Lego bricks and I think she did actually sell them, but it was like for like $50 or something, It was like for next to nothing, but she put a listing somewhere, but it was just an extraordinary number. We still have some of them that we kept, a few sets, but we had because we had 3 boys who were all into it at different times, we had a wide range of these things for just a long time.
Yeah, so we should, we've sort of talked around it a little bit, but this is how do you say it, the Deku tree that's in the Ocarina of Time, and it's in Breath of the Wild, I believe. Is that right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so it has 2 different sort of build modes. So you can build the Ocarina of Time version, and then you can build the Breath of the Wild version. I guess I didn't play Breath of the Wild long enough to get to this bit. And you get, I believe, is it 4 minifigs you get with this? You get 2 different versions of Link.
Yep.
And then I think 2 different versions of
I
Zelda
think
as well.
I think it's 2 Zeldas too. Yeah, I saw some pictures on Mastodon earlier today. Yeah, it looks like a great set. It's $300, 260 pounds, 300 euros. So I'll give you an idea of kind of the range. It's an expensive set, but yeah, it's a cool looking set.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely got that the sort of license tax on it compared to other sets that maybe don't have like IP licensed for it. But we don't have a lot of choice. So there's one Legend of Zelda Lego set. So if you want a Legend of Zelda set, this is the one. This is all we have.
Yeah, this is all we have, and it actually it's more pieces than I realized. It's 2,500 pieces, which is an awful lot for a set that to me didn't look that elaborate. But I guess there's an awful lot of flowers on the trees, and I'm just looking at it. I'm looking at a blown up picture of it now to try to get a sense of it. Though there's a little Korok guy there I see in the corner.
Yeah, and you got the spiders from Ocarina of Time. So yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I mean, it doesn't look like a lot for 2,500 pieces, but I guess once the reviews are out, it'll be a bit more obvious. I mean, I won't be buying this because I don't like the Legend of Zelda this much.
Right.
But it is really nice.
Oh, yeah, I'm a big fan of the whole series, and I'm not getting it either. I mean, I just don't need more. I don't need Lego in my life right now. But yeah, I think it's a cool looking set, and I can see here they've got. They're not showing everything. That's the other thing. Like in some of these shots, I think you're seeing like. The shot I'm looking at just has 2. I think it has 2 links, or is it a link and a Zelda? I guess it's a link and a Zelda. So who knows? Who knows? We'll see. I mean, it's kind of a cool looking set, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, there's definitely some pictures they're not showing. Usually they have more press images than this, but it appears they haven't actually released everything. So yeah, I guess it'd be a case of checking out the reviews I believe it comes out in September, so we've got a little while yet before we're going to see that.
Very nice, very nice. Hey, tell me all about slash pages and what this is, because I saw that you posted about it not long ago, and I'm very behind in my reading, and I've been meaning to read what you said about it, but I haven't yet, so fill me in.
Yeah, so you're probably familiar with like a now page,
right?
The concept of a now page. So people will have on their website, like I do, if you go to /now, it has these are things I'm doing right now, whether it's like TV shows I'm watching or the music I'm listening to. Mm-hmm. Some people might put about what they're doing at work or projects they're working on, that kind of thing. And then you've got stuff like contact is a pretty common one, about things like that. And I was chatting with a few people online, and somebody, Shell Sharks is their name on Mastodon. They said, I've been calling them slash pages. And I'm like, okay, that seems like a pretty good name. And then I sort of had this idea to put together this list of all these different types of pages that people can have on their website. And I will say now, because this came out after I'd done it, that the name was also... Somebody else also came up with the name, but completely independently, literally like a year apart. So Caleb also came up with this name completely separate. So I've credited them both now on the site. So yeah, I just sort of put together this list, and then if it's available, I link to like directories where you can like browse people's now pages or their uses page, blog rolls, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty, it's a fairly simple website. Just has a list, bunch of links, and sort of give you more information.
Yeah, it's very nice.
It's been pretty popular.
I like your color palette. Very nice color palette. And we've got, I like this. There's a lot of things to check out here. A lot of different. We have an about page on Mac Stories, but that's about it, I suppose. Mm-hmm. So we need to get out there and get some more of this stuff, like /TIL.
yeah. That one's a little bit more. Some of these are, an about page is fairly common, and you write about yourself. That's easy. The Today I Learned pages, they can tend to be a bit more complicated,
right,
and a little bit more involved. But yeah, it's been, the response has been really good, and I've got a few notes of things to add that people have suggested. So, but yeah, and I was kind of impressed that I was able to get a .NET in 2024 that wasn't taken.
Yeah, that's kind of amazing, especially for two actual words put together. I mean, I've been looking at some domains not too long ago, and it's just like impossible to find anything that's even close to a real word these days. It's amazing, unless you have a really weird domain, which, I mean, it's good to have. I like that there are all these different options. The problem is that so many people are not familiar with the more uncommon domains that I think it can cause like confusion with people sometimes.
Oh yeah, I mean, even mine. I mean, I have a .me, and even that causes confusion.
Right.
And I feel like that one's fairly common.
It is pretty common, but you're right. Even the stuff like that does that. I had the problem with, I've never been able to get johnvoorhees.com. I have johnvoorhees.co, and I sometimes feel like people can't find it because they're assuming the M, which is not correct. So, but it was the closest I could get with my actual name.
Yeah. So yeah, I was pretty excited to, I wasn't sure if I was going to do this, and then I found I could get a decent domain for it, and I thought, you know what, no, let's do it. So I got it up, and immediately I had a lot of suggestions and things like that. So I made some changes, and like I say, I've got a list of a bunch of suggestions I want to look at as well to add to it this week. So that will keep expanding as well.
Oh, very good. Very good. Yeah, that's really cool. I think we need to close out with John's AI corner, actually. And I'm getting a little tired of AI, and so I'm going to keep this short. I mean, it kind of exhausts me, and I feel like I don't have to be out there banging the drum against some of these companies anymore, because they're doing it to themselves, Rob. They're doing it. They're doing the job without me. It's like, you know what? I don't feel like I even need to light this fuse. This fuse has been self-lit. There's so many self-owns. I mean, of course, there's the OpenAI and Scarlett Johansson thing, which I thought was a wonderful controversy, because you know what? It puts a human face on some of the shenanigans that are going on with some of these companies.
Yeah.
And the taking. It's one thing for people to hear kind of conceptually that they're scraping all the articles off the internet. It's a whole nother to have them, seemingly stealing her voice, which who knows whether they actually did or not. I'll leave that to people to decide for themselves. But it's pretty clear that whether they did or not, that people certainly believed that they did, and shows how much little trust there is with OpenAI and other AI companies right now.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Yeah, we don't, there's no specific evidence that they did steal her voice, but it's pretty damning that they contacted her twice,
right,
and then released a voice that was basically the same.
Right. Even if they didn't actually train it on her voice, they certainly, I think the intent was there to sound like her.
Yeah, absolutely. Which, fine, if you hadn't contacted her twice. Don't admit to the sort of ethical crime is the wrong word, but your sort of loose ethics. Don't admit it in emails. Contacting her agent, like if you're going to copy it, just copy it and don't say anything.
Right.
Because it would just be, it just sounds like her.
And I think that they have potential liability here too, based at least on some of the way things work in New York and California with this sort of thing. But then the other thing, of course, is Google, who's rolling out, Google's just going for it. They're putting AI in everything. And now their AI is telling people to put glue in their cheese, in their pizzas to keep the cheese on. And I forget some of the other ones that I've seen. There's quite a few of them. They're quite funny.
Oh, I've got one that a lot of these are very funny. I'm sort of paraphrasing a toot that I put out this week, but if you put glue in your pizza sauce, ultimately you're probably going to be fine.
Yes.
Like, at least it's specified non-toxic. But,
yes.
For the sake of argument, let's assume you're going to be fine. You might have to, drink some water.
You might feel a little sick.
Like whatever.
Yeah.
But if you, so this was a friend of mine, Nick, had Googled, I am depressed. And the AI result was a Reddit user suggests you jump off the Golden Gate Bridge.
Oh no, that's terrible.
And that is, this is what I said on Mastodon. Like, if you build a search product, I don't care what it is. if somebody searches for depression or just keywords relating to those kind of things, and you're not showing like their local suicide hotline or
Right.
the Samaritans or whatever the equivalent is in their region, like you've completely failed.
Right. No, 100% agree with that. That's for sure.
Because yeah, glue cheese, fine. I'll eat some glue cheese. Who cares? Like, that's not. Do you know what I mean? Like that isn't. It's rubbish. It's like, yeah, Google, you've just done a really crap job of whatever it is you're trying to do. But the depression thing was just infuriating.
Yeah.
That Google, of all people, would do this.
Yeah, I had not heard of that. That's really awful. I did not realize that. I've only seen kind of the funny ones. And what it turns out is that they're doing things like they are lifting from The Onion or people joking around on Reddit. There was actually one that I saw where it was a guy, he's like, oh, it was the guy who took over The Onion recently, and he said, oh, here's where they got this, and he pointed to The Onion story. It was the one where it said there was one that where the result was that suggested you eat small rocks. Mm-hmm. And apparently it was an Onion article. Anyway, I mean, they're doing it to themselves. I'll be very interested to see what Apple comes up with for AI at WWDC. My expectations are very low, actually. And I have a feeling that they're, as a company, too conservative and too smart to walk into a buzzsaw in quite the same way. But, who knows? They're under a lot of pressure, too, from investors. So it'll be fascinating to see where this goes from the Apple standpoint, having seen what Google has done to themselves and OpenAI, just kind of like, dropping their own pants, basically, in public.
Yeah, I mean, aside from, what's actually happening, it's like, this is Google, where people Google to find a result for something. Fine, you can get hit with the ads, but that's a thing, whatever. If you even if you assume there are no scam ones, fine, you get hit with ads at the top of the search results. But you've just put a wrong answer machine at the top of your search results.
Well, they're adding a button to actually get web results now, which is, to me, is the most ironic thing of all. It's like you're a search engine and you need to have a dedicated button for the web results. That's really pretty bad.
I know the answer is investors, but I want to say anyway, who is even asking for all this AI crap in our software? Because I don't think anybody wants this.
No, for the most part, no. I think that there are some good uses, and I think that there will be some interesting tools. I think that the technology is in the hands of people who don't have the right imaginations to really figure out ways to use it well. Because I will give one example before we end for the day, which is one of my favorite media management apps is SQL. And Roman, who's the developer of that app, has created a system where with the share sheet, he can take basically any like an article you find on Polygon about some game or a series of games, and you can hit the share sheet and it will scan the page and it'll figure out what the game is and where it's available, and you can add things to your queue for media to listen to or read or whatever, just based on an AI parsing of a web page or some other app. It doesn't have to be a web page. It can really be any kind of app that has information displayed that you can then parse. So there are some cool things like that are out there. I just don't know. I just don't think that, search results are not really where I want them. I'm not really a big fan of chatbots either, but I think in the end, this will be like every other technology. It won't be as awesome as a lot of people say it is, and it won't be as bad as a lot of other people say it is. It'll be someplace in the middle, and it'll fit in and find its place. There's just way too much hype right now and too much money chasing after it, which is the big problem. I mean, Elon Musk just got $6 billion for his anti-woke AI. So, I mean, we've already jumped the shark more than once.
What?
I mean, I didn't want to go there, but I mean, okay. I feel like Elon's out there, saving us all from wokeness with AI. That's probably, even if that was your goal, it's seems like the wrong way to do it, but hey, whatever. You do you.
Yeah. Yeah, finally somebody's here to save us from that. Brilliant. All right.
Good episode, Rob. It's good to talk to you as always.
Yeah, and you. Let's call it there. And I think this AI corner is going to be filled up for quite a few episodes.
I think so. We're going to take a break, folks. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Talk to you later, Rob.
Speak later.